Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It is Monday, it is 24th of November, and it is the week after a bit of a volatile week last week. So let's see what has happened. But first I have to say this video is for educational purpose only. There is no recommendation or advice whatsoever intended. So let's have a look at the S&P 500 index. Well, it bounced at the end of the session Friday after massive sell-off Thursday that took it down below the 6,550. So we actually do have a bearish trend confirmed. Also, negative sentiment on the RSI is supporting that scenario. So I wouldn't be surprised to see if we can see selling pressure coming back a little bit here in the coming week or so. So let's see how far it can take it. 6,480. We have some support there. So could come under further pressure. If it takes out that, then there's a risk lower to around 6,350, and there is actually risk all the way down to 6,200. But let's keep an eye on it very closely. The Nasdaq 100, quite volatile Friday, as we can see here, where it sold off and then it's bounced back, and then it moved higher, and then it closed just a tad higher at almost 0.8%. Staying above 23,969, but negative sentiment on the RSI and the bearish trend confirmed. Now we can take this away. We are in a bearish trend for now. So let's see, can it keep itself above this support here? Also, we are just around the 100 moving average. We are in the cloud, so there's a little bit of hope to hang on our heads to, but we can see we are. It is under pressure there. Pre-market, well, bouncing further there. We can take the future. See that it bounced from the 24,068 support there and bounced, and pre-market also bouncing, but we are in a negative sentiment. But we also have to remember one thing: stocks are basically in a bullish bias, since most can't be short, so there will be buyers coming in, and but let's see, it's about staying above 24,000. If it can't do that, well, then we can see further selling pressure being added to it. On the US 500 here, 6,498. There's some support here, just around 6,500. We are still in the cloud. We are bounced back from the 100 moving average, but negative sentiment on the RSI. Let's see if it what it will do here the next few days. Will it take out the lows there, or can it actually stay above and maybe start building something? And here we have just a pre-market with the S&P 500 future. On the Russell 2000, had a very good ending, actually closed almost 3% higher, but also here we are in a bearish trend, still with the massive sell-off there Thursday, but we are below the cloud. We are below the RSI 40 here. We are in negative sentiment and bearish trend, and we need at least to get back above 240 to at least go into neutral. So be careful there. If it starts taking out the lows from last week here, then we could see selling down to 220. In Asian session this morning, we also had a bit of a bounce there, 1.8% almost, back above the that was the support here, 24,496 now, and our resistance now is back above. But also here, negative sentiment. We are below this rising trend line. We are below the just around the 100 moving average, but you will see bearish trend also. We need to get back above 26,000 at least just to go into neutral, and we need to get back above this cloud area here to re-establish bullish trend. Nikkei, well, is the future. It's has bounced off 40 threshold, so still technically in a positive sentiment, but we have established a bearish trend short term that retraced the 61.8 of this last leg up there at 48,056. How about it bounced from? Key question, will it be able to bounce further? Let's just remove these because they're not interesting. So can it bounce here? And if it can take out the spike up there from the 20th of November, well, then maybe it could reestablish a bullish trend. There is some hope for that. Europe session, they got also beaten Friday. I would say the EuroStoxx50 spiked to the 100 moving average below the support here at 5,488. Still holding on above the 40 threshold, so still holding on to something. But let's see what it does pre-market. There's not really much to say. It has bounced just a tad. But again, here from the 100 moving average. DAX index open below the 23,000 and the 23,051 support, but managed to close back above. Pre-market just it's about to open here now, so just trading just above it, but with negative sentiment, bearish trend, there's risk lower. But maybe this could be a turning point down here, and we could have a bounce, especially if it starts moving back above 23,285. There could be a little bit of a hope here. We can see pre-market, but it's more or less unchanged really. Moving on to the FX market, and I have the euro dollar here. That's is hovering around the 786 retracement at 115.08, so just above 115, spiked a little bit below. Could bounce maybe a little bit, but in the bigger picture, we are in a bearish trend, and I think if it takes out the lows Friday at 114.90, well, then the downtrend will continue. There's room down to 114, but there is a possibility we bounced up to around 116 in a correction, but we are below the cloud. We are below the 255 and 100 moving averages that are declining here. So the underlying trend is bearish. More or less the same picture on sterling dollar here, as we can see. It's also bounced from the 786, it spiked below a couple of times at 130.50, bouncing a little bit, but the overall trend is down. Negative sentiment, no divergence on the RSI. If it takes out the lows here from last week at 130.37, well, then we are likely to take out the 130 here and push to 129.30 area. The Euro sterling dipped lower, couldn't really get its mojo together to push higher. We are still in a bullish trend, but it is quite weak to say the least. But this morning we opened lower, and then buyers have been coming in, lifting it a little bit. So key question is, can it lift it enough? It could lift it enough, and I think maybe we could see, if it takes out the low today, well, then we will see the 87.60 come under pressure here, with a risk down to around 87 and a quarter. But it is bouncing for now, so if one was to run with it, the stop would be to the lows today. Dollar yen formed this almost like bearish engulfing-like pattern here, but there is positive sentiment. There's no divergence. We see RSI values rising, supporting further upside, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it being done. And if we're looking at the weekly chart, we can see, well, it got rejected here at these peaks here, some of these peaks here, 157.75, but there is room higher. Positive sentiment also here, no divergence, indicating likely higher levels, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it push up to around these peaks here at 158, 80, 85, 87 before a top and reversal, or at least a correction kicking in. But it is a little bit stressed, but still there's no divergence, indicating we could see higher levels. I did expect a little bit of setback, maybe down to 155 before the next move, so keep an eye on what could unfold. Euro yen in a correction phase, almost down to the 38.2 retracement, can still do it, but also here positive sentiment, no divergence on the RSI, meaning that it's not imbalanced, it is actually quite in balance. so indicating likely higher levels. And as we can see here on the weekly, it is quite stretched though, but as you see also no divergence on the RSI, supporting higher levels on the euro yen here on the medium term still, despite the fact that we are quite stressed and we have to go back all the way down to, back to 1990 to see higher levels. The Aussie yen also a little bit stressed here, and here we have divergence, as you see, divergence RSI declining, market move higher, so that one is a bit stressed unless it takes out the peak from last week there at 102.5. There is some support here at 100 spot 14, so I would say 100 spot 10. So keep an eye on it. We can see it got rejected, this spike up there. If it takes it out, well, then there is not much stopping it pushing higher, but for now be careful with Aussie yen there. Sterling yen, bullish sentiment or positive sentiment, but as you can see here, there is divergence. This peak here is higher than here, but market moved higher, so also a little bit stressed. However, there is a potential higher also up to the 208 area in the coming weeks. Positive sentiment on the RSI weekly and no divergence indicating that. So let's see if it can take out the 206.85 here. Well, then we are looking at 208. So for now, it's still holding on. Moving on to Aussie dollar. Let's zoom in here. Friday, massive volatility, spiked lower and spiked higher there. It didn't get all the way down to 64 as 14 support here. So we are still holding on a little bit, but we are negative sentiment as we also here and here. So as I said, the overall picture is that it's likely to break out to the downside. Its support here at 64.40, and I think it will push lower in the coming weeks. We can also see it's actually establishing a bearish trend here on the weekly, but it's not being confirmed by the RSI pushing below 40 threshold, and we are still above the cloud here. But look at 100 moving average declining and 55 doing so. Same here on the daily. So the pressure is to the downside. Dollar Canada spiked a little bit higher there Friday, couldn't get higher. Up above the peak here at 141.40. Positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence, indicating we are likely to push that higher. But if we're looking at the weekly chart, you can see it actually got rejected here at the weekly cloud a couple of times. So that will be a little bit of a struggle, but we do have a 60 threshold. The RSI trading above or moving above 60 threshold. So there is support for a push higher in the near future. Let's see, and also we can see it started lower this morning. So if it can push higher, and I think it will eventually take out this peak there and push towards 142. Sterling Canada still this range here between 185.45 and 183.20. That's the range that needs to break out for direction. Euro Swiss is still holding on, and now it's actually pushed up to the 100 moving average and these peaks here at 93 and a quarter. So let's see, can it keep going? RSI is trying to get back above 60 threshold, so that would be key. Can it actually push it back above both these levels there and back and above the cloud? Well, then there's certainly much more room up to 93.80 or 94 level, 94.17. So really something to keep an eye on, unless it takes out. And let's just add that if it takes out the lows there at 92.70, well then the tide has turned, but it's still holding on nicely. So let's keep an eye on what's going on in this area here around 93 and a quarter. Dollar Swiss also being lifted currently, again did it Friday, but also this morning here above the 786 retracement. RSI above 60 threshold in a positive sentiment, so indicating higher levels, and I think we should see dollar Swiss pushing higher here towards 81.70, possibly all the way up to an area around 82 and a bit up here in the coming weeks. The dollar index. Flirting with this peak here at 100.22, spiked above a couple of times. Positive sentiment, bullish trend. I think we'll see it crawling higher towards 100.73, possibly up to around 101 on the medium term. We are in a bullish trend that's been established for quite some time, for some weeks back. So positives. Bullish trend there. On gold, taking a little bit of a breather here. What I will do is I will just remove this so we can actually break out to above 41.33, all to the bearish side 3,997. So bullish breakout or bearish to test the 3,886 support down here, possibly dipping to the lower part of the cloud. Still positive sentiment on the RSI. There was divergence and there's still a little bit, but if it can move back above 60 threshold and follow by a break above this level here, well, then I think we'll see it crawling higher towards the previous peak and also higher. So we are in a waiting situation at the moment. Silver, a little bit under pressure after building this bullish trend. Now it's setting back here to 61.8. Could sit all the way back to the 55 moving average and the 786 retracement there at 47.43. Still positive sentiment, so I think eventually it will turn around and it will stay above the cloud, but let's see, there is still risk that it could sit back down to this area here. However, it needs to get above the peak there last week at 52.47. Then I think the uptrend is set to resume. Platinum, Friday tested the support here at 1490 and bounced off. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, but the RSI was testing the 40 threshold there on Friday. So, but bouncing off, and I think we will see it crawling back here above the cloud. And if it can get back above the cloud, expect the uptrend to resume. And especially, and I think actually I want to do this. Let's see here. Above 1630, well, then I think we can confirm uptrend has resumed. But key support there to be observed. On copper, still a little bit to the pressure, but the overall picture is bullish. Yes, we are in a little bit of weak spot at the moment, or weak situation, but still remember we had the 55 breaking above the 200 where they were both rising there. So the medium term to longer term picture is bullish. It's just sideways trading at the moment. Still positive sentiment on the RSI. If it can break above the falling trend line, it could be an indication that uptrend will resume and it will be confirmed if moved back above 60 threshold. Moving on to the energy market and crude oil, that is still selling off here. Trading around the 786 retracement there, 57.69. I think we will see it lower in the coming days. So if it takes out the lows from Friday at 57.38, then we have 56.35 there. That can hold it, but there's risk lower below $55. It is in a bearish trend, both medium and short and medium term, as we can see here on the weekly also. Brent Crude, of course, same picture, really pushing lower there. So confirm the bearish trend, and if RSI moves back below 40 threshold, it is already in negative sentiment. Well, it will further add to the bearish picture. European nat gas is also bearish, and now you can see here this early morning, it has jumped lower below this 30.30 there, and now we have to go really far back, as you can see, to see levels like that. And let me just show you. Here we are. We have to go back here. So there's a little bit support there at not there in these levels here, but the fact is there's no strong support until around 20.30 area. So quite bearish, and you can see also on weekly. So it seems like we are pushing lower here on the European nat gas. It's good for consumers here in Europe, especially when we are facing winter. In US nat gas has it's pausing a little bit, try to get higher there Friday, but got knocked back a little bit. So, but it's still in an elevated situation, as you can see here. Also the weekly room up to $4.90, maybe $5, but it is a bit stretched here. So let's see if it can also set back. I would be cautious if it was me trading it at the moment. Looks quite toppy, very short term, but it needs to take out 470 to establish a push up to $5. And the underlying trend with the moving averages are actually pushing higher. But if it takes out the lows there at 423, well, then we're looking at 412, possibly down to around $4. Moving on to the interest rate market. US 10-year Treasury yields dipped lower below the 405 support there Friday, but managed to close above. Now it's testing it again as we speak. We are below the 55 moving average, and we can see the 100 and the 100 and the 200 declining. We are now currently below the cloud. So key will be, it seems like we have still some pressure to the downside there, and it could push lower, and especially if it takes out the lows from Friday there, well, then we could see it pushing below 4%. Moving on to the European yields. Little bit weak this morning here. Let's keep that 1 week. See, we got rejected there at maybe I should zoom in a little bit so you can see. Got rejected there around the 786 retracement. So it really needs to take out that. I'm removing it so we can see a cleaner picture. So expect a setback down to around 265, 264 maybe, 274 to the upside. If it takes out that, well, then we're looking at a 285, 280, 283 area. But I don't think it seems like we are holding on here a little bit. Positive sentiment on the other side. The UK 10 got rejected there, the 61.8 retracement, setting back down to the 38.2 and bouncing from it. So I think we'll see it. It needs to take out the 462 for further upside to 468. If it takes out the lows there at 451, well, then it could set back down to here in the 440s, mid 40s again. The Japanese 10 sitting back. And it's just right there, so hasn't done much this morning. We are in a correction phase, but still bullish trend, no divergence on the RSI, indicating likely higher levels on the medium term that it could push higher. Finally, on Bitcoin. We have Bitcoin bouncing here, and I think we could see it up to 90,800, twist to 38.2, maybe even up to the 61.8 here, just below 98,000. Ethereum also bouncing here, both forming some selling exhaustion, could bounce out to 32.44. All right, that's a long one today. Sorry about that, but have a nice day and talk to you again tomorrow.